my name is Coach Rowena. I teach musical theatre and pop, and today I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks to singing musical theatre. So one of the most used things in musical theatre, we call it twang, right? So what is twang? Twang is a really bright, penetrating, almost annoying sound that is created in the epiglottic funnel by narrowing the epiglottic funnel, right? And it creates almost like a trumpet shape in your vocal tract, and that gives us a higher pitch and more volume with less effort. So if you think about a baby crying, for example, it's that really piercing, high-pitched sound that you can't ignore, right? Because that sound is meant to catch your attention. That is what we're kind of starting from today, the really annoying like baby crying sound. And how does that help us in musical theatre singing? So twang is used in musical theatre singing in character songs. So what are character songs? If you think about Popular from Wicked, for example, right? So that kind of sound, like popular, I know about popular, it's that kind of sound. And that helps us create a character or a very distinct character sound in musical theatre. The other thing that we use twang a lot in is belting in musical theatre. In musical theatre, we often use mixed belt as opposed to true belt because we want to preserve our voice in terms of we want to keep the belt as healthy sounding as we can or as healthy as we can. Just because we are performing 8 times a week, we don't want to blow our voice out once a show and then not be able to do it again ever, right? So twang is used a lot in mixed belting in musical theatre to help us get to that pitch with the power, with as little effort there is as possible. So how do we access twang? So the first exercise that we can do, if we go back to the baby crying sound, we can use that to access twang, right? So if you think about a baby crying, like wah, is that sound. So you can put that on a scale, like wah, 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 wah. Or you can think about like a quacking duck, right? If you do quack, 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 it's that sound. You really want to feel the sound and like your mask of your face or like the top parts of your face. You want to keep it super narrow. You want to keep the sound really forward and bright. Almost like behind the nose. Yeah, and that's how you create that twang sound. What you don't want is to make it breathy, for example, like wah 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 wah. We don't want that, right? We also don't want like a really low, deep layering sound like wah 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 wah, because that's not narrowing the space to create the twang. So we only want to feel it like forward, bright, wah, 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 almost annoying. So don't be afraid to annoy your neighbors, right? And how do we apply twang into song? If we go back to Wicked, like Defying Gravity, for example, that end riff that Cynthia Erivo do in the movie, like wah, wah, that has twang in it. It doesn't sound like it because we can always dial up or down the amount of twang that we use once we know what it is or once we have access to it. So to start, you can start again with that baby crying sound. You can do it on a wah. Wah, 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 wah. What you really want when you're just starting to do it is you really want to dial up the twang and make it like super nasty and ugly sounding. So don't be afraid to sound ugly, right? And then as you get more familiar, you can maybe change the wah to like a whoa. So whoa, and you can play with the amount of twang that we use as you get more familiar with what that is. Yeah, so go and try and see how that feels for you.